this is indeed a treat for our locals community, for those who have actually come over from Rumble. Marion Van Horn, neuroscientist postdoc with such publications as, I've never read any of them, but I know roughly what she does. I'm going to bring her to the stage. Mare?
Hi. Have you not read my publications before?
Yeah. Well, let me see. You got the brain book behind you. Hold on. Let me broaden. I want to look at I hope there's nothing embarrassing in the backdrop there. That's our bed. That's where we make babies, Mare.
This is our bedroom.
I'm gonna zoom in a little.
I didn't really check. It's mostly books.
Mostly books. That admits for the possibility of something else. Mare. Okay, so
I didn't really check.
I'm gonna ask you the questions. You're a PhD, not an MD, but that you have, I don't know, what are you up to now? 15 years of postdoc study?
I started my PhD in 2003.
That's much more than that's 22 years, Marion.
But then, 2000. That was my PhD. Then I graduated, and then I did a postdoc from 2010 until we moved to Florida in 2020. So I did about a 12-year postdoc with some mat leave here and there.
See, I've got to be careful, because when I say an expert is someone who knows more and more about less and less, that is not a judgment. That is not a judgment on you, but I use that expression in the house, Mary. So okay. Look, so I was just listening to Dr. Gupta. I don't know who the hell he is. The argument is this: that, and you can attest to this as well. It's not the medications that a pregnant woman takes during pregnancy that could be the issue. It could be the infection itself, which is an issue as well. That there's a correlation between, tell me if I'm wrong, because I just remember this from our discussions, schizophrenia and infection during pregnancy. So that there's an argument that viral infection during pregnancy itself is a risk factor potentially of nefarious things.
Yeah, exactly. That's like well known and well. I just lost the screen. Where are you?
I can still see you, but
that's well known within the. Oh, here you are. The research world. We've been writing grants since I started my postdoc. We've been writing grants about how maternal infection activation. When your immune system is activated when you are pregnant, there is a higher risk for illness later. So there was a really big increase when there was I think it was the Spanish flu. That's what I want to look up. In the 70s, and they saw afterwards a huge increase in schizophrenia. But it didn't mean that if you got the flu, you got schizophrenia, but there was an increase. So there's like a correlation between getting an infection at some point in your pregnancy, I think early on in your pregnancy, and then developing, in this case, they saw schizophrenia. Now they're seeing increases in general, increased rates of autism.
I like fact checking you in real time, Marion. A significant body of evidence suggests a link between the 1918 spend.
Okay, 1918.
Yeah, no, you said 70s, but
don't. 50 years off.
No, but it's not the because schizophrenia, I guess. Well, whatever. It's the Spanish flu, which was the important thing, and an increased risk of schizophrenia among the children of mothers who were infected with the virus while pregnant. Connection is considered a strong example.
We've known this for a long, long, long time. And when I was in the lab, we started writing grants, and the grants would start off as, we know that increased infection during pregnancy. And then in the lab, what we were working on were you're using animal models. So we actually used a tadpole, and you could look at how neural circuits form after they've been exposed to some kind of infection. So you can add a bacteria to their rearing solution, and then you can compare, very simply, like before and after, or animals that haven't been exposed and animals that have. You can't do those same experiments in humans, which makes everything more complicated. You can't have randomized control studies of women who have infection and those who don't. Same with Tylenol. I think those types of studies would be very difficult to do. You'd have to have everyone, like, that's the gold standard, is a randomized control study that you can really compare groups.
Well, so it's interesting because infection itself poses a risk, and it's AI overview, but when you know the answer to the things already, it serves as a bit of the confirmation that I'm trying to think of some of the examples here. Well, GBS, forget that. Syphilis, viral infections, Zika can impact the baby. I mean, actually, I remember we lived through the Zika. You were pregnant during Zika, and they said if you get Zika, microcephaly, I think it was called, the small head disease.
Right.
So infection is one thing that is known.
I didn't have Zika, but the backstory is I had to go to Mexico for, I didn't have to, I wanted to go to Mexico for my best friend's wedding. And it just happened to be the outbreak of Zika, and that no one knew what it was. And I was 3 months pregnant, and everyone's like, don't go to Mexico. I mean, Dave told me not to go to Mexico for other reasons.
I did not go to the wedding because I didn't want to go to Mexico because I wasn't interested in being kidnapped by the cartel. But they went. They lived.
Like my very best friend since I was a baby. Even our grandparents and our great grandparents were friends. So for me not to go to the wedding was just like, it was like I couldn't possibly not go. So after I went, I also slept with mosquito tent because the mosquitoes were the ones they thought were transmitting the virus. And anyways, I saw one mosquito when I was there.
No, it's
inside a mosquito. Then we came back. I had an ultrasound. Everyone assumed I had Zika. I didn't have any symptoms or anything. They assumed I had Zika. And then I had an ultrasound every month for the next, right up until pregnancy. Ethan had a huge head. He did not have microcephaly.
I saw that huge head come out of your vajayjay. It's like, it's the crazy. It's the crazy thing on it because you keep seeing more and you're like, oh, you think, oh, that's the head. And it's like, no, that's just the top of this, like the crown or not even. And then more head comes like, what's going on? And then there's an actual human head coming out of your legs. And in real time, there's 3 of us in one. It was very cool.
The doctor picked up Ethan afterwards and said, oh, he treated him like a fish. Like, this is like a 10-pounder.
So I gotta find the GoPro footage. I know we have it somewhere, and it caught the whole thing. Okay, so and then now having lived through COVID, like the Zika terror that they were trying to instill in everybody was amazing, and then use it as a pretext. Okay, so infection's a problem. Then the question, because when you were explaining to me, it makes a lot of sense. Is infection's one issue? Why people are getting sick is another, and then add on to that the trifecta: infection, because everybody's immune systems are shot for various reasons, and then you just take these medications which might exacerbate certain problems.
Yeah. The punchline. Do we want to go straight to the punchline?
Yes.
That I've been researching for on and off all day today. Well, not basically for the last 3 years. I've been really thinking about how being outside and getting natural sunlight seems to be one of the issues that modern society is really facing. So there are a lot of one thing we know about autism and probably other neurodegenerative diseases is that it's exposure to some environmental toxin, let's say. So it could be some of these plastics that we're exposed to, or molds, or all, like there's so many different things that could be causing a problem. It could be a combination of all of them. So to find one is unlikely. But one of the issues is if we are already metabolically unhealthy and we have high levels of oxidative stress, that could make us more likely to be faced with these toxins and have an even worse reaction. I was saying earlier to you, it was like you're driving on an empty gas tank. You can still drive. You don't even notice like that you're on an empty gas tank, except there's maybe a flashing light. And the same thing is when you're metabolically stressed, or that your cells are not working optimally. All of a sudden, something's going to happen, and there isn't a gas tank nearby, and you get hit get hit, and all of a sudden you're stuck. So you have no gas, and you've been hit by this virus, and your body can't react, and so then it takes even longer for you to get better. Well, and one of them is one thought is that like in the last, since 1918, we've just been getting less and less exposure to natural sunlight. People are inside like crazy, and then COVID made it even worse. I saw that there's this graph. I'll try and pull it up. There's this decline of how much natural sunlight you get over time, in particular infrared light. And then with COVID, it went down even more because then everyone started getting their groceries delivered and eating in and working from home. So you don't even think of these things, that at least if you go to the grocery store, you're opening your car door and walking to the grocery store. But if you get everything delivered and work from home, you could be not going outside for the whole day. And people don't necessarily understand that natural sunlight is like energy for your cells.
Okay, so but then the question people are gonna well, I get the question is this. So the autism spike really started. I mean, maybe it's early I don't know if the 70s are getting a little too early. In earnest, when did it start really hitting? Like 80s and 90s? And
I
so
think it's bigger. I think it's
let me just
I don't think it was really being diagnosed in the 90s. I think it was more 2000. So there's this always going to be this argument as to whether or not there's an increase in detection rates, which I think most people will agree that it's not just that. You will always have people say, oh, we're just detecting it more. And the same for Trump said something about Cuba having lower rates, which I looked into. And I don't know if there's a good study to really show that Cuba has lower rates. And then there could be multiple explanations for why. There is, my understanding, a study that showed that autism around the equator is lower. And again, it might be because of some natural exposure to sunlight.
That's interesting. So the at least AI overview says the 90s, 2000s, and a further increase in 2011 and 2022, particularly among young adults. Because I guess the question is, people are going to say, well, not to steelman it, but people have been getting sicker. I guess it's all correlating over the same time frame and really hitting the same graph at the same time, probably with processed foods, microplastics, a lack of sunlight, lack of exercise, more processed foods. And then, so people are going to say, well, blaming it on Tylenol seems arbitrary. Although
not arbitrary, there are studies that the problem is there are studies that show that there is a link, and there's some that there is not a link. So the question is, why do some studies see a link? And it could be, different populations of people that they're looking at. And why are some people more sensitive to Tylenol? And the argument that I've heard that I think is quite convincing is that some people could be low. Tylenol depletes your glutathione. And if you already have low levels and then you take Tylenol, you could be depleting even
your more. Glutathione?
Glutathione. It's an very, very potent antioxidant.
It's so Tylenol decreases your glutathione, a powerful antioxidant.
As you break down Tylenol, one of the metabolic pathways is NPQIC or something.
I love it. I love it when you talk science with me.
I can't remember the acronym. And I definitely don't remember the whole name. But through the breakdown, my understanding is that glutathione it happens in the liver, and Tylenol can be toxic. You can overdose on Tylenol, and it's very toxic.
It's for even prolonged use at lower levels. It does carry issues with respect to the liver. I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at the chat and trying to figure out when they stopped recommending aspirin. When was it? Oh God, do you remember the time when we accidentally gave aspirin to one of the kids when they had a high fever?
Yeah,
it was in France when I ran that marathon. What was the disease that it can cause? What disease can aspirin cause in children? Reed's or Leeds disease? Rye's syndrome. So they accept that aspirin's not safe after it became clear that it wasn't, and then automatically thought the de facto alternative, Tylenol, is itself somehow without risks, long-term or whatever. And so I guess our discussion was that it would be not risky, but maybe an oversimplification to say it's just the Tylenol because it's an aggregate of factors that has caused
it's definitely an oversimplification, and for right or wrong, it has gotten everybody talking about it. So I think people should know that it's not like nothing that you put into your body is risk-free. Same like vaccines, drugs, supplements, anything, food, Starbucks,
you're so canceled, man.
McDonald's.
Did she just say that vaccines have a risk?
Seed oils, I think that's the amazing thing right now is people should appreciate that anything you put in your body, especially if you're pregnant, is going to affect the baby that you have. That's why exercise is good because it's good for you. It's also good for your
detoxifies your body. It exercise. It detoxifies. It dilates. It increases circulation.
I think most importantly, it's increasing circulation, and you need to circulate nutrients and everything to your baby. So I would.
So, but what about the argument? Some are going to say, well, Tylenol is good because pain is bad. Like I'm trying to understand what argument there is to say, like, I don't know what types of pain pregnant women have. I mean, headaches, nausea, whatever. But I mean, when they gave thalidomide to reduce nausea, it created birth defects. It took them a long time to figure that out.
We're not so fragile, I think, is the takeaway. If you're in excruciating pain and a high fever, the doctor I was listening to today, can I post something in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I think no, you can open
the video because I think he's very good.
Text it to me. I'll bring it up right now.
And he was saying that, you know, pregnant women, if they have a high fever, if it's 103, 104, yes, you should. There are other risks that outweigh the risk of taking Tylenol. But if you're, you know, like you have a little fever, 100,
we'll say 100, 101, 102.
It's your body fighting the infection. If you take Tylenol, your body's it will prolong the infection. So you're just
prolong the infection, possibly cause other issues in terms of liver, and if it correlates to whatever mechanism is going on that increases autism rates, then there's that. The thing is, like, I always thought, like, your body does it for a reason, not to get biblical or spiritual. And even for women who have bad morning sickness or nausea, it's your body probably telling you not to eat certain things. And if you take medication, other than it causing the defects in the baby, it might be reducing your body's natural mechanism to tell you what not to eat and what to eat. And so you'll end up eating things that you might want to be avoiding during pregnancy.
Everything you should just be aware of, that a low fever, and with kids too, they can fight a low fever. They don't need to eliminate it. A fever is just our body's way of fighting infection. I think that's what our grandparents would do.
Yeah, the grandparents had this,
and we've become casuals. Like, oh, well, we have Tylenol. Just like, we don't want to deal with anything uncomfortable anymore. That's just something like, oh, we have the medicine. Take it. But there are risks with it.
Let me go to the chat here. And
I just texted you. It's Roger Schultz. He's an MD, infectious. I don't want to get his criteria wrong, but I think infectious disease doctor. Anyway, he's on Twitter too. Very good.
Roostang says high fever infection could be a symptom of sepsis. Obviously, I'm trying to think of like other examples where it would be like you're stopping your body's natural response. The one I always think of is I'm going to come back to the chat in a second. When you sprain or your body and it gets swollen. And it gets swollen so that you can't bend it so that it can actually heal. It's like, take something that reduces all of the inflammation so that you can then use your thumb normally when it should be sprained and you should be immobile. It's going to cause longer term damage to the bone, to the tendon. Like what happened with my knee when this freaking surfboard popped my, the MCL. And like, I couldn't move. And that's like, take something to allow you to like start moving again when your body needs to be immobilized to heal. To me, it feels like when you take something to reduce fever, the fever is your body fighting off whatever infection it is. And to the extent it's not risking killing brain cells, let it run its course. The morning sickness.
I think we should just add a disclaimer here. This is not medical advice. Please hear.
No, this is neurotic. This is neurotic. My mother telling me, let your body do the thing. This is
grandma.
No, but it's just trying to break down because the breaking down the Tylenol announcement, which is like they're between all things being equal. If they're looking at Cuba and they say, well, of course, a communist government's not going to want to admit its children have autism, so they're going to lower the numbers there. The bottom line is between you and me, Mara, and our family, how many autistic friends and I've got more than I can count them, but it's a shocking amount. I was just thinking about it as we're talking, like easily close to a half dozen, and like it's not normal. And so like, it's not normal. Then the question is, what has changed over the time of the spike? And it could be vaccines. It could be aluminum. It could be mercury.
There's two other things I haven't mentioned yet. One is seasonal birth. There is a study, and this is something I also heard in this YouTube video about autism and Tylenol, that there is a study showing that depending on when you're born in the year, that there's a higher risk of autism if you're born in the fall. And he was suggesting, or the study suggests, that it could be during pregnancy, the light rays, the infrared light penetrates your skin and your clothes and your skin to get to the baby, which helps certain aspects of development. And I mean, you don't think about that.
No, well, no, but first of all, when you said with the seasons, and then people think, okay, well, yeah, it says some studies showing peak in fall births and others in spring. Okay, but then it would be like, okay, fine. So if there's a season of birth that links more statistically often to autism, I would like think of what chemicals are sprayed in the air 6 months before.
I
I
think it has a lot to do with culture
sunlight.
too. Well, yeah, whether or not when Mila was born, we were very active already. So we probably were the other extreme. We took her to New York City when she was like 4 weeks old, and we were outside as soon as we were like walking, and we were already so active that we just brought her along with us. Where someone who isn't used to doing that, and I know a lot of people, they stay inside for days and days and days and days, or they don't go outside, and they don't realize that the sun has so many powerful benefits. And if it's winter in Canada and you have a baby in January, it's like, yeah, it's very difficult to go outside with a baby.
Yeah, like, you remember, like when I was working as a lawyer, and you were doing science, like you'd be indoors all day. Sunlight was 6 hours. Even if you could get it, the sunlight on the angle is not one that allows for proper absorption. You spend all living light hours of the day indoors, and then you go home, and that's 6 months.
Canada, in the winter it was dark.
Now the question is this: is there more autism in Canada than in the U.S.?
Well, don't look at the U.S. Look at countries on the equator.
Yeah, no, there isn't necessarily more autism in Canada than the U.S. Instead, autism prevalence rates in both countries are similar. Okay,
yeah, so it's more like you'd have, because the U.S. is so big.
More autism in America than southern countries. Yeah, okay. That's going to be yes, but data indicates that the prevalence of autism is higher in some U.S. states and communities than others. It's important to understand the perplexity, geographic variation. That's interesting. Okay, I'll look into that afterwards. What else is going on? I've got bowling tonight.
What?
I've got bowling tonight. You know that? Okay. I'm going to bowl good.
A 2017 review found that countries closer to the equator had reported autism prevalence rates lower than 0.035, while Europe and North America had higher rates.
But then it can also.
There's also the vitamin D hypothesis that a deficiency in vitamin D might be one of the issues.
I go to processed foods, microplastics, things like that.
You're not wrong. All of these things are having an effect, and that's why when Trump says we've solved autism, it's a little.
He didn't say that. He said,
I don't know.
Let's start with.
I heard him say that.
He said we found
autism, but he is definitely bringing it to the table, and everybody's talking about it. And I saw that just before when I was in the background, I saw you were watching those videos. I was shocked. I cannot believe I saw someone post that women are saying that they're going to take Tylenol.
But the thing is, they could be trolls or memes, and even so, it might just be one idiot, and then people are going to try.
I saw two.
Yeah, me too. No, I saw more than two. God, well, I live on the internet, but yeah. Okay, that's very cool.
The other one is diabetes has a higher risk of 25%.
Diabetes in the mother correlating to autism in the child.
So it could be gestational, or it could be type 1 or type 2.
Hold on. Actually, this is interesting. Gestational is temporary. You
develop diabetes during pregnancy. They test you at 20 weeks. You go in, and they don't tell you anything. So this is part of the problem with the whole healthcare system in Canada and the US. I think it might be better in some European countries where it's more common to have doulas, and you go in at 20 weeks. They make you drink this little orange concoction. They don't tell you anything. You go at any time of the day. You drink this orange concoction. It's super sweet. It almost like burns your throat going down. And then they make you sit in this dark waiting room for an hour. Then they draw your blood, and they want to see your glucose response to it. So most people have like a baseline glucose and then an increase. And one time I was called back, and they said, "Oh, your glucose levels were a bit high. We have to redo it." And And then I was thinking, I got super nervous because why am all of a sudden high glucose levels? And then I was thinking about it. I had eaten just before going to get the glucose test.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it. I was just like, oh, I was doing so much. I was
No, but
working on my way from work to the thing. I had lunch and I had like a granola bar. So yeah, my levels were already high. I could talk more about glucose because I started wearing this glucose monitor. But so I can see how glucose levels work. The glucose was already here. I take a drink and then it goes up to here. So all they do is they measure
It
one point.
means a drink of coffee and not an alcoholic beverage in the middle of
No,
the
I
day.
take the glucose drink, the orange.
Oh yeah, okay, fine.
The drink that they give you, it's really bad. And so then I had to go back, and then they take the second test more seriously. They don't tell you anything. They just tell you, please come back and you need to do the test again. So I went back, and you have to fast in the morning. So it's a much more regulated test. You fast in the morning. They can tell what your baseline test is, but it's longer. I think it's over 3 hours. They have to take a drink, and then they test you again, and they test you a few times, and then they look at your curve and make sure that your glucose levels don't spike more than they should in response to like a set amount of glucose that you drink.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all I have to say is your glucose levels really, really matter.
But so all that to say, you can have, I don't know if transient is the word for it, but you can have diabetes that is not a lifelong affliction. Type 1 and type 2, you have it for life.
Yes.
Gestational means that you have it while you're pregnant and then it goes away afterwards. And there's a correlation potentially between gestational diabetes and adverse birth events.
Yes.
Okay, very interesting. Then the second one was that. How did we start talking about that?
I came on the show and you asked me.
No, just you started talking about gestational diabetes. Oh, and things in
any toxins. Yeah, there's a whole list of toxins that.
Actually, I want to see the chart of diabetes compared to autism. I wonder what that is. That's.
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of diabetes among women and the chart of like prevalence of diabetes, type 1 and type 2 and gestational versus prevalence of autism. Like I imagine that I would imagine that
there's a 25% increased risk. That's significant.
Hold on. There's a 25% increased risk for autism in gestational diabetes or
Not
diabetes.
Diabetes well, I should say I don't want to comment because maybe it's in uncontrolled diabetes. If you have controlled diabetes, it's different. So if you're monitoring quickly, it could. But what it says is that.
But then if you're taking
a metabolic disorder, it's your cells are not functioning properly. They're either like in too much glucose because you don't have insulin breaking down enough glucose, or what was the other or? That's it.
Let me see this in babies. I appreciate there's a lot of factors. Yes, maternal diabetes, including gestational, have been linked to an increased risk of autism in babies, according to large studies, yada, yada, yada. 56 million pregnancies found 25% higher risk of autism in children exposed to maternal diabetes.
You don't need AI.
No, I just double checking. First of all, I'm double checking for your benefit so that people can understand you're actually right.
I know. I'm kidding.
Okay, good. Marion, oh, that's what I wanted to do. Bring up the chat. I have some questions for you. People are very happy to see you, Marion. Let us not forget, if you are a very black person living up north, is actually F. Charlton, I understand what you're doing. Wow, dois Freiheit, c'est merveilleux. And what about if in doubt, leave it out? Pourquoi pas? Yeah, that's the question. So what would be the risk of not taking Tylenol for minor inconveniences during pregnancy? I think what's missing here is that acetaminophen is in a lot of drugs now. It's not just one pill check. Yeah, it's everywhere.
True. That was in the. Did you post the video?
Not yet. Should I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just if people are interested, it's a very good.
I'll give
details of which I didn't say properly, like the actual metabolism of Tylenol, and he brings that up. Is that many drugs now have Tylenol just.
Yep, everywhere.
Inserted.
Since we are not holding our words, some very Oh, yeah, I got that already. Okay, and then we'll go to the regular chat here because I think there was some. Viva saved himself a night in the doghouse there. Smooth. Okay, cool. Hold on, bring this up here. 2 tablespoons of sugar would have been a lot 100 years ago. Says Charlton. A friend asked what symptoms of gestational diabetes are. Didn't have them refuse to test. It's a horrid amount of sugar, especially for those who avoid carbs, so their bodies aren't primed for boluses of sugar.
I agree. I feel like that test is very outdated, especially now that we have continuous glucose monitors. I don't know if people have tried it, but I tried one and it's so much better. I probably will do it once a year. You go a week or a month just to monitor your glucose levels, your baseline, and you can compare how it changes from year to year. It's not something you want to get obsessed about, but just to get a sense of how your glucose levels change.
It's funny. I can hear the kid making noise down here, and then the sound travels upstairs and through the internet. 50s triple vax threat, 1980s 30 or more, now 84. Yeah, I mean, I'm going like injecting aluminum and mercury, especially when the best arguments from the doctors are that, well, you eat dietary aluminum is more than that. I'm like, critical thought. My 4 pillars: exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress reduction. That's where I think religion comes into play in terms of stress reduction. But
Yeah,
let's see here, going
those
up
are
a
good
little bit.
pillars. I agree.
Yep.
Sleep. I mean, sleep
Sleep.
is right up there. I think that also changes.
Diabetes is a sugar issue in the gestational diabetes. Something it is, if you reduce the consumption of sugar, you reduce the you could still get gestational diabetes, I imagine, even if you don't OD on sugar or eat excessive amounts of sugar. Is it the way the body metabolizes sugar?
Yeah, I don't know why people develop it. I think there's probably a genetic component, but just that your body's not metabolizing the sugar as well, so you need to eat less.
Viva and Mary. Well, let's get Huberman on. That would be
He's in the background.
Can she just be on once a week, Mary, and Mondays? We can do that. Sure. Yes, you can talk about it. What the new? Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards.
I don't feel comfortable talking about all subjects, but this
but you could
really well.
you pick a subject for one subject per week and explain a study. David, you need to have this wonderful woman on the show more. Says neurodivergent. Diagnosis bias makes these stats useless.
As a scientist, and I do see this as a turning point because I've already seen just today people coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, autism. We've known for a long time that there's a early life infection is related to autism." And people have been so shy to say anything about it because they don't want to be doctors don't want to be cast as anti-vax or anything like that. But I can see that there's a change already. That and I almost think that it's because they want to counterbalance Trump. They don't want to. Well, it's not that bad, but it is here. So it's somewhere in the middle.
it's the way fake news works. Is that it's not happening. It's happening, but not as much as you think. And now it's happening, and it's your fault. I mean, not to politicize the discussion, but you're right. It is the way the window moves. Is that it's outright denial until there's pushback, and then they have to admit a small amount of it, and then eventually we'll get to the truth. But like anybody,
there is no truth. I don't think.
Well, you'll get to identifying. First of all, it's an epidemic that, like RFK was saying, and I think Trump said it too. It's like it's socially crippling. You can't have 1 in 12 people be dysfunctional in society. You just can't have it.
And also, autism is a spectrum. So there's a diverse amount of change between what they describe as autistic.
Yep. Oh, the kids are coming upstairs, man.
The kids are here.
I heard them.
They all came in their room. Are we going?
Hey, tell Ethan to come downstairs.
For dinner. What?
Tell Ethan to come downstairs. Hey, Ethan!
He's upstairs following the girls around.
Okay, tell him to come down. I want to do something very funny. We're going to do teletransportation.
Ethan! He can't hear us.
Forget him. I was going to get this dinosaur tooth was going to go upstairs. Like I was going to like that, but it won't work. All right, Mary, I'll end the stream anyhow because I got to get ready to go do my bowling. I love Marion says loves liberty. Let me go. How do I get this back in? Remove and put back in here. And I'm going to go follow up on the ostrich story and see what the heck is going on here. My face when people say RFK Jr. is anti-science, but trusted Fauci who needed a pardon for it. Okay, never heard about using tonic water. I'll have to try that. Tonic water was for mosquitoes. Was it tonic water? It was gin and tonic. It's why the Brits drank gin and tonic to.
I think it's the opposite.
No. No. In terms of deterring mosquito.
Yeah, I think
quinine. It was quinine. No, it was quinine. Drinking quinine was a natural mosquito repellent. Quinine
or attractant.
Hold on, mosquito repellent. No, I think it was the other way around, because that's why the Brits drank quinine in tonic water does not prevent mosquito bites, as the amount is far too low, and it has no repellent action when applied to the skin. While historically important for treating malaria, the quinine in modern tonic water is not recommended for ways to prevent mosquito-borne disease. Okay, there was some truth to it, because it's why the Brits drank gin and tonic when they were conquering Africa.
That's a good excuse. But
Yeah,
but there is something in some people attract mosquitoes more than others.
If they have sweet blood, like children. Okay, Mare, locals. Well, Mare, I don't need to say a proper goodbye. I'll come upstairs or you'll come downstairs and I'll see you in a second.
Okay, I'll say my proper goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay, go for it. I'll see you in 5 seconds.
How do I get out of here? The red area?
I'll kick you out.